Hey, Dana. Well, right now, from our courtroom producer, it seems, and bear in mind, there are a lot of moving parts right now coming from inside the courthouse. But right now, it seems like the judge is going to instruct the jury to continue deliberations and emphasize that they should try to reach a verdict. And just to unpack what got us to this point, the judge, he looked at proposals from both prosecutors and the defense. The defense pointed out that there's a lot of material, and the jurors have been very efficient, but they didn't reach a verdict on count one. And the defense thinks jurors don't need much help and they shouldn't be given a push to move along. The judge also asked the defense what it thought about the juror note that said jurors were unpersuadable on count one of racketeering conspiracy. The judge suggested that he would just tell them to go back in, continue to deliberate and not address their concern. The prosecutors argue that doing so would be asking for a repeat of the duty of jurors to reach a verdict. And so there was a lot of back and forth between this, and the notes we're getting from the courtroom, they're coming at rapid fire. But at this point, I can tell you the latest that we're hearing and we're reading from our producers inside is that it seems like right now the judge is going to instruct the jury to go back and continue deliberations. But I just got another note, and if I may read this to our viewers. We just learned from our producer, the defense wants to ask the jury at the end of the day tomorrow, rather than now, if they would want to stay over the 3rd. I'm not sure what that means. We're going to need to get more clarification on that. But the defense has said they do not want jurors to feel rushed. The defense has said they don't want jurors to feel rushed or stressed. And neither the defense or the prosecution objects to a July 3rd meeting, should it be necessary. And they say if they meet on July 3rd, this concern about racketeering conspiracy would be brought back up to the jury at that point. So that's a lot to unpack, but right now we're reading the defense wants to ask the jury to stay till the end of the day tomorrow, rather than having the jurors feel rushed or stressed, and the jurors are being brought back in. So we're going to try to get more clarity on exactly what that means for the count one racketeering conspiracy, the charge that jurors said they were unable to reach a unanimous consensus. At this point, though, it seems like the defense has made a successful argument to the judge that jurors shouldn't be pushed the jurors shouldn't be made to feel rushed about the stalemate, if you will, in their deliberations on count one of racketeering conspiracy. I'm going to send it back over to you.
All right,
Dana?
Yes, Greg.
Can I say something?
Of course.
I am riveted by this. I'm just wondering, if this is hard for the lawyers to follow, how can we expect viewers to follow this? I don't know what's going on, but let me summarize it for the people at home. They could do this, or maybe they could do that. But is there a chance they might do this? Or no, they could do this. We might hear about it soon, but we aren't sure. I get it. This has sex. It has celebrity. It has baby oil. And most important for our viewers, it has hip hop. This is what our viewers crave, a big scandal involving hip hop.
Yep.
Back to you, Dana.
100%. Trey Gowdy, can you comment on whether the audience cares about hip hop? Or, no, actually, about this decision by the defense to ask for the jury to not feel pressured this afternoon?
Of course. It means that they're on the losing side of the split. And if you feel pressure, imagine if you're the two holdouts and it's 10-2. Of course you want there to be enough time. You want to give the two time to convince the 10. You don't want to rush. Time is actually a victory for any defense attorney. Some defense attorneys judge success based on how long they kept the jury out, even if they get a guilty verdict. So every defense attorney wants more time. I wish I were in the courtroom because you can tell, Dana, from the body language who the two are. You can see who's sitting beside one another. You can see a lot of times when you get additional instructions or they have jury questions, you'll see the jurors literally look at the holdout and start nodding their heads. So being in the courtroom, you would be able to tell what the split was just by looking at the body language from the jury.
All right, we brought Paul Morrow in. He was over at Fox Nation doing live coverage there, but then we got you here on the 5. Can you give us your take on what you think's happening?
Well, let's recognize something here. We're up against July 4th, and jurors are human beings. And this came late in the day when a lot of us thought it was probably put to bed for the day. So, look, jurors, it's been my experience, take their obligations quite seriously, all right? I think that I don't think I've ever been involved when I felt like the jury was being casual. But jurors are human beings. And the idea here that, from what I hear, the RICO charge here is going to be the outlier. I think that there is an implication that the Southern District overreached. The RICO charge is a heavy, heavy anvil of a legal charge. You're talking about essentially the rest of his life in jail.
So I'm just getting a little bird in my ear telling me that the judge has said, okay, nice try, defense, but that's not going to happen. And he's sending the jury back to deliberate this afternoon. So, Rosanna, do you want to comment?
Well, I'm just going to say, if the jury's going back, the judge thinks they're close to reaching a verdict, and he's going to push it a little longer. The defense, I could understand. They want them to go home, sleep on this a little bit. Even they're not sequestered. Maybe they'll read a newspaper or two. Maybe they won't. They're not supposed to. But they'll have some time to think about it and maybe come to a decision that the defense is hoping for.
Okay.
But we've seen this happen before. I mean, partial verdicts are all the time. RICO, very, very hard to prove. Knew it from the very beginning, Paul.
That's right.
Joey, we haven't heard from you yet. Do you want to comment on something, or if you have a question for anybody?
Yeah,
feel
it's
free.
just not my genre of music, so it's hard for me to know what to ask. Paul, does the judge know what the verdict is in 2 through 5 when he tells them to go back and deliberate?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, he knows. He knows what's going on here. And realistically, as as you're saying, there's a very good chance he thinks we can probably button this thing up today. And so he's keeping them over time, because normally by now they'd be going home. So he's thinking, okay, let's get this thing out of the way now. It's 10-2 apparently, and he'd like to have a resolution here. But what we do have to remember is that you talk about a guy's life.
Yeah.
And I can just tell you, having just been on Fox Nation, as you mentioned, and done a lot of work on this, talked to a lot of people, did a lot of interviews. There's a feeling on the street, quote unquote, in the rap industry and even a lot of the entertainment industry, that this RICO charge was a serious overreach. The guy's had this business for a long, long time. Now, I'm going to date myself a little bit. I was working the day he came in with J-Lo, and I came into work. J-Lo was in the cells. I didn't know who she was, right? So it's longer than I'd like to recall.
That was a gun involved in that.
That was the
one,
thing.
too.
They came out of Club New York. There was a shooting. They're in the cab, and somebody throws the gun out on 8th Avenue. It was recovered on 8th Avenue. But you're talking decades ago. He's been around now. This guy's been ubiquitous in American entertainment.
And he's a billionaire. I know you think he's just a hip-hop artist, Greg, but he's a billionaire.
Well, I think he's more
His
than
reach
that.
is
He is an
everywhere.
American hero. We need to devote an hour to this, Paul. I have a question for you. As you know, you're a music aficionado. P. Diddy once remade and remixed the Police classic, I'll Be Missing You. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
For that alone, should he get the death penalty?
That's a predicate for a RICO charge.
At least go away for
Actually,
a long, long time.
I didn't like the original either, so there's your 2 predicate felonies.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Look, these are very serious charges. It's the rest of the guy's life. And what you're essentially arguing is he took this apparatus that he built into an enormous business enterprise. That's where I was going with that.
I mean, he's got
and he perverted it into
spirits.
something else.
He's got a big business empire there. It's not just music.
And he also has money for appellate attorneys. Let's remember that. And there are going to be appealable issues all embedded throughout this thing. He's going to have one of the attorneys he actually has.
So you mean we get to do this again?
You will get to come back and do it with Greg.
I have a sex trafficking question, Paul. Okay,
I thought you might.
So, okay, let's just say the internet didn't exist. So normally Diddy would be getting his whores from West Hollywood. So that would not be a sex trafficking thing. It has to do with the fact that now that you have the internet, you can cross state lines. Is that what triggered this?
No, he actually, according to the testimony, was bringing people across state lines.
Yes.
You're right, though. You can get.
Thank you.
You can get. So you're a budding lawyer.
Yes.
Although I don't know who would possibly hire you, but that's good. You can get jurisdiction through the internet. And,
Yeah, that's what it is.
That does
The
happen.
internet has changed the world. Some might say for the worse.
That's a big
Well,
statement.
thanks,
Yes.
Al Gore,
It's a good thing you were here.
the inventor of the internet. Paul, thank you so much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you coming.
Great job, Paul.
And
Coming
thanks,
out.
Fox Nation, for letting us have him.
Can I have my cuffs back?
All right, well,
Joey, over to you.
We know that the Diddy jury is done for the day, or at least that's what we're being told. We'll continue monitoring for updates and let you know if something else happens. As far as it goes right now, they've got a partial verdict and the judge wants a whole verdict.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.